There is an old saying in the small coastal towns of Japan: when the sea fog reaches the tracks, the dead take the train home. No one remembers who first said it, or when, but the Tōkaidō line, once the lifeline of Japan's eastern coast, has carried that rumor for decades. It began with a station master named Hayato. He worked at the now abandoned Shin Hamakita station, a place that hasn't seen a passenger in over 30 years. Hayato was known for his punctuality, his quiet demeanor, and his strange habit of talking to the trains even when they were empty. "Every train has a memory," he used to say, "and some memories refuse to stop running." One misty night in late autumn, Hayato received an unexpected message on the station's radio. "Local 47 bound for Kyoto arriving at 11:15. Prepare platform 1. He frowned. That couldn't be right. The schedule had been canceled years ago, and no local trains ran through this section anymore. The radio crackled again, followed by silence. Hayato checked the power, checked the time, and stepped outside. The platform lights flickered against the thick fog. The rails hummed, just slightly, like a heartbeat. And then from far down the line came the low, distant sound of a train horn. Hayato waited, heart pounding. A shape emerged through the mist, a train, silver and black, gliding silently. Its windows were dimly lit, and through them he could see passengers sitting still, unmoving. None of them blinked. None turned their heads. When the train stopped, the doors opened with a hiss. No one stepped out. But Hayato swore he heard a voice from inside, soft, almost pleading. "Are we home yet?" He called out into the fog, but there was no answer. Only the steady hum of the train and the faint smell of iron and rain. Against all reason, Hayato stepped inside. The doors closed. The train began to move, and Shin Hamakita Station never saw Hayato again. The train moved silently, as though the rails themselves had forgotten how to make sound. Hayato stood in the middle of the car, surrounded by passengers who seemed carved from wax. Their faces were pale and expressionless, their clothes dated, school uniforms, business suits, even a kimono or two, all faded like old photographs. He tried to speak. "Excuse me," he whispered. "Where is this train going?" No one answered, but one passenger, a young woman with long black hair tied with a red ribbon, slowly turned her head. Her eyes met his, and he noticed something strange. They reflected no light at all. Then she smiled. "It always goes the same way," she said softly. "It never stops." Her voice sounded distant, like an echo traveling through a tunnel. Hayato looked around. The lights above him began to flicker, stuttering in rhythm with the train's motion. He realized that the advertisements above the seats were for things that no longer existed. Movie releases from the 1970s, government slogans from decades ago. Even the map of the Tōkaidō line was outdated. It showed stations that had been demolished years before. The intercom crackled. A voice, calm, formal, but slightly distorted, announced, "Next stop, Shin Hamakita. Next stop." Hayato's heart froze. That was the station he had just left. He ran to the window, but the fog outside was endless, swallowing everything beyond the glass. The reflection of the passengers shimmered faintly. But there was something wrong. Their reflections weren't matching their movements. One reflection, an old man seated by the door, was staring directly at Hayato, though in reality, the man's head was bowed. Hayato took a shaky breath and stepped into the next car. The door slid open with a hiss, the same sound as the first. But this car was darker, colder. The air felt thicker, heavier, as if every breath had to push through decades of forgotten sorrow. A single child sat at the far end, clutching a paper ticket in both hands. When Hayato approached, the boy didn't look up. He just murmured, "I lost my mother." She said we'd meet on the train. Hayato crouched beside him, trying to keep his voice steady. "When was that?" The boy blinked. "The night of the accident." Hayato's blood ran cold. He remembered now. The Tōkaidō derailment of 1971. That train had crashed along this very route, and as the fog outside grew thicker, the train began to move faster, back toward the past. Hayato gripped the seat beside him as the train's rhythm changed. It wasn't the sound of wheels on metal anymore. It was like heartbeats, pulsing through the floor, synchronized with the flickering lights above. He turned toward the boy again, but the seat was empty. Only the paper ticket remained, folded neatly. The ink had faded, but Hayato could still read the destination. Kyoto, 1971. He blinked, his breath fogging in the cold air. When he looked up again, the passengers were different. Their clothes were cleaner now, brighter, newer, as if time had reversed. The man in the business suit was reading a newspaper. The young woman with the red ribbon was fixing her makeup in a compact mirror. For a brief moment, it all looked normal. The lights stopped flickering. The train hummed steadily. Outside, the fog thinned, revealing glimpses of the coastline, waves crashing against dark rocks, moonlight glinting on the rails. Hayato hesitated. Maybe it was all in his mind. Maybe he had fallen asleep at the station, dreaming inside his tiny office after too many long shifts. Then, he heard the sound. Faint at first, but unmistakable. A bell. Not the kind that rings at stations, but the kind that tolls for funerals. The lights dimmed again. The passengers froze mid-motion, like puppets with cut strings. The woman with the red ribbon slowly lowered her mirror, her eyes hollow once more. Hayato stood up. "What is happening?" he demanded, though his voice trembled. From somewhere up ahead, a door slid open. The sound of footsteps echoed down the corridor. Slow, deliberate, heavy. A figure appeared, the conductor. His uniform was immaculate but old-fashioned from an era long past. His face was expressionless, but his eyes, they seemed to hold entire lifetimes of regret. "Tickets, please," he said calmly, extending a gloved hand. Hayato fumbled for the ticket he never bought. I don't have one," he stammered. The conductor didn't reply. He simply tilted his head, as if listening to something distant. Then, almost gently, he said, "No one ever does." Not after the crash, a deep shudder ran through the train. The lights went out completely, and when they came back on, Hayato was standing alone, the seats empty, the car silent. Only the conductor's voice remained, carried by the wind through the intercom. Next stop, the night we never reached. The train began to slow, though Hayato could see nothing beyond the windows, only a darkness so deep it felt alive. A soft chime echoed overhead, and the intercom whispered, almost tenderly, "Arriving, Shin Hamakita Station." Hayato's breath caught. That couldn't be. He had left that station. He worked there, but when the train stopped and the doors slid open, it wasn't the station he knew. The platform was drenched in a pale blue glow, the air thick like water. Signs hung from the ceiling, but the letters were wrong, slightly twisted, like they'd been written by someone who remembered Japanese only from a dream. The sound of dripping water came from somewhere unseen. Hayato stepped out carefully. The floor beneath his shoes echoed like hollow wood. The fog pressed against the walls as if trying to get in. He called out, "Hello? Is anyone here?" For a long time, there was only silence. Then, faintly, came the sound of a woman humming. It was the same melody played on the station's departure chime, the one that used to signal the last train of the night. The tune was off by just one note, and that made it unbearable. Hayato followed the sound down the platform. Posters clung to the walls, faded images of smiling travelers, cherry blossoms, holidays long forgotten. One of them was torn down the middle, and through the tear, he saw his own face staring back at him, smiling, uniform crisp, standing beside a train. Except in the picture, he looked much younger, and behind him the date read, October 23rd, 1971. He froze. That was the night of the derailment. The humming stopped. The air turned colder. Then came a voice behind him, calm, quiet, familiar. "You never left, Hayato." He turned slowly. It was the young woman with the red ribbon. She stood on the opposite platform, her hair gently swaying as if underwater. "This place isn't real," he said, stepping back. "It can't be." Her smile was sad, almost kind. Real enough for those who can't move on. The lights flickered again, and when they came back, the woman was gone. The train doors had reopened, waiting. From the intercom came the conductor's voice once more, steady, echoing through the fog. "All aboard." The journey must continue. Hayato hesitated only a moment before stepping back onto the train. The doors closed behind him with a soft sigh. This time there were no passengers at all, only rows of empty seats. And his reflection, staring back from the window, smiling when he didn't. The train began to move again, slower this time, like a deep breath before a confession. The lights dimmed to a dusky orange glow. Outside the windows, fog gave way to faint shapes, mountains, rivers, silhouettes of towns that didn't exist anymore. Hayato walked down the aisle, the sound of his footsteps echoing softly in the emptiness. He stopped when he reached the next car. The door slid open with a long metallic sigh, and there, standing in the center of the aisle, was the conductor. His cap was tilted perfectly, his gloves spotless, his posture straight as if frozen in duty. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The train hummed beneath their feet. Then Hayato broke the silence. "Who are you?" The conductor turned slowly. Someone who forgot he was supposed to stop. Hayato frowned. "Stop what?" "Everything," the man replied. "The brakes, the signals, the clocks. The night of the accident, I saw the warning too late." His voice didn't shake, but the air around him seemed to dim with every word. "The fog came in thick," he continued, "and the radio failed. I tried to slow the train, but the world was already sliding away from us. When the engine left the rails, we didn't even feel the impact. It was quiet." Hayato felt his pulse slow, as if the story itself was dragging him down. "So this train?" The conductor nodded. "It kept running, somewhere between memory and regret. And we, those who couldn't let go, kept our seats." He stepped closer, his shoes making no sound on the floor. "You were on that train too, Hayato." The words landed like cold rain. "No," Hayato whispered. "I was at the station. I remember." "Do you?" the conductor asked gently. "Do you really?" Hayato's mind flashed. The fog rolling in, the hum of the radio, the message that made no sense. Local 47 arriving at 11:15. He had stepped outside to look for the train. He had seen the lights, and then nothing. The memory cut off like a film reel torn in half. The conductor placed a gloved hand on his shoulder. "Every night, you welcome a train that never comes, because for you, it already did." Hayato staggered back, gripping the seat beside him. The lights flickered again, only this time he saw the car filled once more with passengers, each one staring quietly at him. Their faces were calm now, no longer empty. They were waiting. "For what?" Hayato whispered. "To arrive," the conductor said. The train began to slow, the rhythm softening into something almost peaceful. The rhythm of the wheels faded into silence. The train coasted through a sea of fog so thick it seemed endless, swallowing every trace of sound. Then, for the first time since Hayato stepped aboard, he felt the air change. It grew warmer, lighter, almost human. Through the mist, he saw a faint glow ahead. It wasn't the electric white of a station lamp, but something softer, the golden hue of morning sunlight. The conductor turned toward him. "This is the final stop." Hayato swallowed. "Where are we?" The man gave a tired smile. "Where we should have gone all along." The train slowed to a halt. The doors opened with their familiar hiss, but this time there was no chill, no whisper of ghosts. Just stillness. Outside, Hayato could see the outline of a station platform bathed in gentle light. Cherry trees stood in full bloom, their petals drifting through the air as if suspended in time. One by one, the passengers began to rise from their seats. The woman with the red ribbon, the boy with the ticket, the old man with the bowed head. They stepped off quietly, walking into the light with calm faces, like travelers who had finally reached home. Hayato hesitated. "And me?" he asked softly. The conductor looked at him for a long moment. "You've already served your time, station master. You kept the line open for those who were lost, but the last train doesn't need a keeper." Hayato's eyes stung, though he didn't understand why. "If I leave, what happens to the station?" "It will rest," the conductor replied. "Like you." Hayato nodded slowly. Then, as if guided by instinct, he stepped out. The ground beneath him felt real, solid, and yet lighter than air. He turned back just once to see the conductor standing in the doorway. The man tipped his cap. "All aboard, the living." With that, the doors closed. The train shimmered faintly, its metal frame turning transparent, dissolving into mist. Within seconds, it was gone, leaving only the sound of wind and the distant chime of a bell. Hayato looked down the empty platform. The sign beside him read Shin Hamakita Station again, but this time the letters were clear, perfect. The air smelled of spring. Somewhere far away, a new train horn echoed, alive, modern, carrying voices and laughter. And for the first time in 50 years, the line was free. Hayato smiled. "Welcome home," he whispered. Then he walked into the sunlight.